This is a fan-generated show. If you would like to support us, please go to jamieglazov.com, and also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And make sure to order Jamie Glazov's new critically acclaimed jihadist psychopath, how he is charming, seducing, and devouring us. All your support is greatly appreciated.
Good evening. Welcome to the Glazov Gang. Tonight, riots and leftist terror. With us this evening, Will Johnson, the founder and president of Unite America First. Will, welcome back to the Glazov Gang.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thank you, Will. So look, obviously, all of us, very disheartened, saddened, outraged at what this evil cop Chauvin and his helpers did. That was a crime. We hope punishment will be administered. Terrible thing. We'll get to your thoughts on it. But having said that, now, as always, the left is exploiting an injustice to perpetrate more injustice and its own injustice. Your thoughts on all of this?
You know, what happened to George Floyd was completely horrible. Mm-hmm. I watched that video, the 9-minute video, and 2 minutes into the video, I had this whole urge of wanting to jump through the video and put my knee into the face of that cop. I had so many different mixed emotions about it, because I've actually gone to different places and stood up for police officers, because what they're doing to police officers is completely wrong. But what happened here was completely disgusting. And it leads me to believe that there was another sinister reason behind it. He knew he was on camera. He knew people were there filming him, and he refused to get off of him when George Floyd was in handcuffs. So what kind of person does that? What's in the person's mind for them to think that it's okay for them to keep his knee on the back of his neck that entire time, which as the end result took his life? It was completely disgusting. It's completely sickening.
Absolutely, Will. It's haunting. We're looking at the devil. You know, when I was watching that, you can see the devil. That's Satan. This guy's possessed, and it's a murder in public, right on camera. It just very frightening and disheartening. And as I said, in the beginning of the program, the way that I think as a Christian, the way I see things, you're a Christian as well, Will, unless you've converted to Islam recently or anything like that. But on a serious note, Satan works in this way. He perpetrates evil, but then he uses another evil to exploit that evil, like communist revolutions, for instance. Obviously, communism gets some of its energy and food from injustice, right? But then it perpetrates more injustice. So now we have that horrible crime, and now a lot of horrifying things are happening, and also very bizarre, strange things are happening. Let me ask this. You're a Black American. Any white people kneeling in front of you, kissing your feet recently, apologizing to you? What's going on there, Will?
It's funny you bring that up. They're not kneeling before me or anything like that. And I hope it doesn't get to that point, but I was just in Minneapolis, and I went to the location where he died. I was just there. I was there when his brother showed up. And I remember walking through the crowd, and somebody white was in front of me, and my tripod may have hit someone on the leg by accident. They happened to be white. And I would say, "I'm sorry." They would go, "Oh, no problem. Don't worry about it. Oh, you're okay. You're okay." And at first I was like, okay, they're just being really polite. But then I'm continuing to walk through the crowd, and I'm trying to get in a better position with my camera. And I just say simply, "Excuse me," to some other white people. And they go, oh, yeah, whatever you want. Here you go. Here. It was completely just fake. There was nothing genuine about them saying, "Here," it was completely like, just I'll give you anything you want type of attitude. They're apologizing for something that they didn't do. And to me, It's disgusting.
Right, and here's the evil perpetrated by the left here, in the sense that, of course, we know that there's racism. Of course, there's an ugly, painful legacy. We know about the past. All of that is true. We try our best to build a better world. But in terms of what the left is perpetrating, their policies lead to an exoneration overall of individual responsibility, including the exoneration of the individual responsibility of black people. And even what this goes further, what you're saying, Will, because yes, we want to get rid of evil, racist cops, but what happens when police officers become afraid to act when facing black violence or black criminals? There's so many gives and takes here, right?
No, you're absolutely right. And I think that's part of the agenda here, is to get it to where police officers are no longer wanting to do their jobs. And on top of that, they want to defund the police officers or the police departments. They want to dismantle the police department. They're even going as far as saying that citizens need to police themselves. And we can see how that worked out in Chicago. We can see how that worked out in St. Louis. We can see how that worked out in Oakland and San Francisco and so on. If you don't have law and order and people to keep people to be civil, you're going to constantly get this crime that's coming across America. And I think the Democrats really have this whole thing where they don't want civility to come back to the American people. They don't want that. They need this chaos. And you know what? I truly believe they're going to continue this chaos all the way up until November and probably beyond, especially when President Trump wins in November.
Now, you see, I like that last sentence of yours, Will. Will, so complicated all of this, because on the one hand, of course, we understand in general, Black Lives Matter. I think that I always thought I would add to that in general, Black Lives Matter too. And we understand that component somewhere where maybe all lives matter. On some levels might be missing something in terms of the argument of, let's say, the black community on that sphere. I know this is complicated. We can get to that. But okay, so on that sphere, we understand some of the arguments. But at the same time, David Dorn, retired police officer from St. Louis, spent 40 years serving, protecting his community. The looters just shot him in the torso. He died bleeding on the sidewalk. He was trying to defend a pawn shop in St. Louis. So George Floyd's life absolutely matters. Huge protests for George Floyd, died at the hands of white cops. We understand, of evil white cops. We understand the historical pain there. We get it. But yet there are no major protests and hashtag campaigns really on Twitter. I mean, they tried, but Twitter that suppresses that stuff. But just overall, my point, the inequality of responses, that why does this individual's life not matter as much? Why does David Dorn not get huge protests?
You know, David Dorn, the reason why they don't want to talk about that is because of the left is they have been perpetuating this whole thing about getting people to go out and be violent, the rioting. They've been pushing this. I watch the Criminal News Network enough to know that they're on there saying that people don't have a voice, so they have to act out any kind of way that they can. You have people and politicians and movie stars, leftist movie stars, coming out saying people have to be violent. So if you have the police officer out of St. Louis is killed, that goes against their narrative, because then they can't come out and say that, oh, here's another black man that died, but it wasn't at the hand of a white man. And because it wasn't at the hand of a white man or the hand of, the police, because it could have been a white man that killed him there, but because he wasn't killed at the hands of the police, they can't use it because it blows a hole in their narrative. And It's completely horrible. And, as long as they can continue to have all of us thinking that it's only white cops or cops in general killing black people, they're going to continue pushing that narrative. In the case of this
Yeah.
officer in St. Louis, they can't do that.
Yeah, and when an 8-year-old black girl in Chicago gets shot by a bullet between black gang violence, for some reason, Black Lives don't matter to Black Lives Matter movement.
Well, you know, the only time that I'm sorry to cut in on you, but the only time Black Lives Matter to Black Lives Matter group is when a white person or a cop is involved. Other than that, the Black lives don't matter, because if they did, they would be addressing the issue which you just brought up.
It means that the Black Lives Matter movement, at least how it's been hijacked and how it's being used by the higher powers that be, is really about something else.
I don't think it was ever a hijack. I think the actual story, the truth about BLM is actually coming out. That's all it is.
Yes.
From day one, they were pushing division in this country. Instead of them saying, look, Black Lives Matter too, that's what they should have been saying. Yeah. But they didn't say that. So they only saying that only Black Lives Matter.
Thank you for correcting me on that, Will. I take that back. I think what I really kind of wanted to say by that, absolutely, from the very get-go, we have these communist George Soros sources, absolutely. Yeah. I guess I just meant that maybe many good-hearted people are involved, right? And they're being used and exploited.
I think people probably try to go into good intentions, not realizing what they're actually supporting. Yes. But see, the problem is once they realize and find out what they're actually supporting, they still don't care. They still go along with it. I was watching a BLM rally. It was in LA, and white people were there supporting them. And then people got on stage and told the white people that they have to get in the back. Said, this is not for you. This is for black people. And white liberals that were there, they went and got to the back of the crowd, which was completely insane to me. If I was there and they said that, I would leave. I'm here supporting you, and you're gonna tell me to get in the back? I mean, see, this is the problem. This is the problem. They constantly saying that we need to get past all this racial division in the country, but yet they keep pushing the racial division. They keep saying that we need equal justice, but yet they don't want justice for white people. They only want and then when black people do something wrong, they don't want to acknowledge it.
Yeah. Well, white people got to get to the back of the bus. I'm not sure how that fits in Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream. Will, we got to go, but under 2 minutes, you fascinate me a little bit. I heard a rumor on the street that you approached protesters telling them that you're a Donald Trump supporter. That sounds a little brave. What happened?
Yeah, actually, I'm in D.C. with my wingman, Ben Bergquam, and we went down to the protest. And I don't have on any Trump gear. Like right now, I got on my, get over it, Trump is your president t-shirt on. But I didn't wear this down there. I just had on a regular polo shirt. And we're walking around. We're just talking to a few people. But me being who I am, I cannot hold back and not voice my opinion on something. I listen to them sit there and say how racist President Trump is, how much they hate the police officers, how much they hate this country. I sit there and listen to it just over and over and over. So I went up to the front and I voiced my opinion. And soon as I did that, it exploded. They all started yelling at me. They started getting angry with me. Some of them were pushing me, and they didn't want me to be there. And my question to them is that you're constantly saying that black people don't have a voice. This is why black people don't have a voice, because I'm voicing my opinion on something, but because it doesn't fit your narrative, you want to shut me down. You don't want me to say anything. You want me to be silent. Isn't that not the problem? It's completely crazy. But I was a little nervous, to be honest with you, at first, but I believe in God, and I know Christ was with me. And people that were watching it, they said they could see God's presence there, because I did not get hurt and I did not feel fearful. It's just the power in God was right there with me. So it's amazing.
Amen. Psalm 91. And you're a very brave man. Thank you, Will. A lot of people are very inspired right now on the edge of their seats watching this show. Before we go, am I correct that everybody that wants to support you and get involved should go to uniteamericafirst.com? Am I correct?
That is correct. Can I say one quick thing?
All right.
Okay. So, one thing that's kind of disturbing is that the person that called the cops on George Floyd, The shop that he was in was owned by a Muslim. Now, I'm not saying that people need to go attack Muslims, not at all. That's not what I'm saying here. But they're not even acknowledging that it wasn't a white person that did it. Yeah. It's just kind of twisted here. But anyways, I just wanted to get that in there. Thank you.
Yeah, we know that there's a hierarchy in the leftist structure of who can be criticized and who oppresses who. Will, thank you very much for being such a brave, noble voice in these very frightening times, and wishing you the best in your battle, okay?
Hey, thank you for the time, sir.
Thank you, Will. Everybody support Will Johnson at uniteamericafirst.com, and we will see you soon on the Glazov Gang. Good night.